Welcome to the Connected Educator session for new laptop and iPad mini grant recipients. This is a do-it-yourself version where I will talk you through the slideshow and expectations that were shared at the October sessions for people who are receiving new laptops and iPads this year. This is the presentation that I've created that I'd like you to follow along with me. So if you can go to this link, it is tinyurl.com/u46itce2014. And if you go to that link, it should take you to a screen that looks similar to this. You'll notice that we are going to look at the 2015 new folder. So if you can click on this one where it says 2015 new Connected Educators, and from here go ahead and click up on this top right hand corner where it says open in Drive. Make sure that you're logged into your Google account. You'll open it in Drive. If you haven't added it to your Drive, it might say add in Drive. So whatever you see in this top right hand corner, the blue button, click it. And then it should take you to another one that says open in Drive, and then now you can open it in Drive. Once you click open it in Drive, you'll see that it's been added to your Google Drive, and you can get access to all the information that is shared here. So we're going to go into the 2015 new Connected Educators, and we're going to go into the October folder, and here's where you'll find my presentation. You also have access to the agenda that we shared for the October sessions. So here's the agenda, and here is the presentation. So we're going to walk through this and talk through the ideas that we shared at this session. I'm going to go into full screen mode now. Okay, so welcome. I am Jen Vincent, Coordinator of Instructional Technology, and just for some background information about me, this is my second year in this position, and I've been in the district for 13 years, so I'm super excited that we're able to focus in and get more technology into classrooms. Just for information on the laptop and iPad mini grant opportunity from last year compared to this year, last year we offered laptops district-wide, and iPads were in the transformation schools, and anybody could apply and receive the devices in their classroom. This year we did it a little bit differently in the fact that instead we identified schools that needed devices in order to get to a 6-to-1 level to be able to administer PARC, and so that's how we figured out how many schools were getting cards with the laptops in them. Or the iPads were based on transformation schools. So that's a little bit history information about the mini grant opportunity. The reason why we're doing this model is because we really believe that it's going to make an impact if kids have access to technology consistently in their classrooms. So much more than if they are going to computer labs and you're trying to fit in and squeeze in the time. And so we're trying to really make the case and show how we need more technology in classrooms all the time. So that's a big gist of why we're doing it this way, because we feel like this is completely different than what we've done with technology in schools before, and we're hoping to show the impact that this has on students. So we will be collecting data and asking you to outline and look at what an impact the technology has in your classrooms, and so that's a little piece of what to expect, and that we will be gathering data and learning more about how this changes teaching and learning. So we asked everybody to think about how you might redefine your teaching by integrating technology into instruction. So you can go ahead and think about for yourself, based on your application and what you outline, how do you anticipate that technology might redefine teaching and learning? You can go ahead and pause this if you'd like, or if you're ready to keep going, you can just keep listening along. Our outcomes for this first session are to explore and discuss the SAM-R model, to introduce and develop theories of action, and to develop a plan for data collection. According to the agenda, we were doing welcome and introductions, doing a SAM-R model activity, discussing theories of action, looking at data collection, and then we'll share next steps in an exit slip. At the meeting, we did have access to the Danielson framework and the Illinois Professional Learning Standards. Just as a resource for you as you go through the work, if you wanted to pull any ideas from there, those are two resources that are available. We did a SAM-R model sort, And basically we looked at the SAM-R model that talks about how we can effectively integrate technology into instruction. So SAM-R, each letter stands for something different. The S is for substitution, when technology is acting as a direct substitute for what you could do without technology. A is for augmentation, where you're using technology and it functionally makes things easier or more efficient. Kids are getting instant feedback. You're augmenting what you're doing in your classroom. M is for modification, and this is where students are starting to create more, collaborate, where they're significantly doing something different that they couldn't have done without technology. And then redefining, using technology in a classroom is really about the kids collaborating, but also sharing and being able to publish and produce work that other people are able to see outside of their classroom. So it's really about breaking down the four walls and getting information out into the world, but then also inviting others in, possibly video conferencing with people around the world or different experts. So what we did is we had a sort sample examples for S, A, M, and R, and everybody was asked to look at these different examples and think through which ones they thought belonged in S, an A, an M, and an R. So we'll just share these examples with you. So for S, these are some examples of substituting, using technology to substitute. These are examples of augmentation. You can see in these examples that kids are doing something a little bit more than they would in the substitution phase. Here are some examples of modification. You can really clearly see here that kids are creating and they're producing instead of simply being consumers. And these are examples of redefinition. And these you can see clearly that kids are creating, but then it's also being shared and other people have access to it. So our goal really with the laptop and iPad mini grants is to encourage teachers to move towards redefining their practice with the technology in their classrooms. And we recognize that not everybody is going to jump straight to redefinition. We know that technology in classrooms this much and consistently is different from what we've had before, and so you might move through the phases S, A, M, and R, but we do have this idea in mind that we're working towards redefining and working towards building our skills as teachers, but then supporting the students as well so that they can experience how teaching and learning is redefined because of the technology in classrooms. Here's some information about developing your theory of action. A theory of action is a plan that maps out a specific pathway towards a goal. Basically, we start with a clear and measurable goal. What do we want our students to be able to accomplish with the technology? We develop we look for a way to assess that goal, possibly with a rubric, and then we go back and determine the strategic levers, the things that are actually going to impact our instructional core. The whole point of having a theory of action is that it's going to help you be able to achieve your goal, the goal that you outlined in the beginning. So we have time now for you to go back and think through what you outlined in your application, share the ideas that you had in your proposal, and think about a theory of action so that we really narrow in and have a specific way to work towards goals. In your folder, you should have a folder shared with you, and in the folder is a spreadsheet that looks similar to this, where we have an if-then statement and then an opportunity to record our goals. So like I said, we start first with the goal, and we think about what we want students to be able to do. So in this case, we have a goal of 80% of students will earn 20 out of 20 on Genius Hour projects, and that's according to a rubric. So I'll share a resource for you, sample rubrics, where I went through K through 12, the different Common Core state standards where technology embedded, and pulled out those standards and created rubrics based off of those. So based on a rubric that you create, what would the students be able to score on that? Align with Common Core state standards, and then you go back and think about the strategic levers. And there are 3 different strategic levers that directly impact instructional core. Those are your if part of your statement, and then you define your then. So the strategic levers impact the instructional core, and if we put these things into place, then we'll impact the instructional core and hopefully reach our goals. So again, the focus is on the instructional core. Instructional Rounds in Education says there are only 3 ways to improve student learning at scale. One is to increase the level of knowledge and skill that the teacher brings to the instructional process. Another is to increase the level and complexity of the content that students are asked to learn. And the third is to change the role of the student in the instructional process. So if we think through this, how are you as teachers thinking about how the technology might change and what you do in your classroom and what you might need to think through and learn about to be able to use the technology effectively? How might having the devices in your classroom increase the rigor of the content that students are accessing? And then because of the technology in the classroom, how might the role of the student change? How might your classroom maybe be more student-centered or student-led or inquiry-based? And that's it. If you're not changing one of these three things, you're not improving instruction and learning. So going back to this idea of a theory of action, remember we always start with our goal first. Then we think about those strategic levers, how the teacher might bring something different, how the students have access to different information, or how the role of the student is different, how those strategic levers impact our instructional goal and help us ultimately to work towards the goal that we've outlined for our theory of action. So now take time to review your application. Do you have goals that are clear and measurable? Look at your outcomes, and if you don't have something very specific and clear and measurable, this is the time where you look at that and record that in your theory of action sheet in your Google form, or Google folder, excuse me. Do you have goals that are aligned directly to Common Core? Are they directly aligned to ISTE, the ISTE standards? ISTE is the International Society for Technology and Education. Do you have a plan to measure those goals? What strategic levers do you recognize in your proposal? And how will targeting your strategic levers impact the core instruction? So go ahead and think through again. First your goal, then the if and then statements. And you might have multiple if and then statements that all get to one specific goal that you have. In the sessions that we had in person, we were able to share and talk with others and think through how others might be able to help you in your work. So right now we're going to develop our theories of action. Again, first, the clear measurable goal, align the goals to standards, and then think through if and then statements. One thing we're going to ask is that you do collect data around your goal. So you should have a way of collecting data around your goals. If possible, you can use Google Forms and collect data in that sense. I do have some sample data collection samples for Google Forms and how you might use that. The idea is maybe to have a pre-assessment and then a post-assessment later. That our pre-assessment is going to give us an idea of where our students are at, and we can use that as formative assessments to be able to see what we need to do to help and support our students so that by the end, hopefully they've worked towards the goals that we've outlined. And you might give multiple assessments along the way, but we're hoping to have a pre and post assessment to show what growth, if any, our students have. We'll be sharing the data collection trimesterly or quarterly, depending on if you're elementary or secondary. And we asked you to create a Google Drive folder and share it with me so that when you do you can upload all of your data collection there. So like I said, there are multiple ways to collect data. I just want to stress here that if you are already collecting data towards the specific goals that you're outlining here, and you want to just simply share that to the Google Drive folder so that I have access to be able to see the work that you're doing, you're completely welcome to do that. If not, I will show you again some examples of how you can create a rubric and create a Google form so that you can collect your data and enter it all there and be able to see how students have changed over time. It's completely up to you. This isn't meant to be something extra and on top of what you're doing. This is meant to be in line with the work that you're doing and just asking you to show evidence of how integrating technology into your classroom makes an impact on students. So let me show you the rubrics first. So on this slide here we have different rubric samples. Okay, so if you click on the rubric samples link, this link will take you to a folder where I have all the different rubrics by grade level. So let's pick 4th grade, for example, just so we can see what is outlined here. You'll see that there's a rubric from 0 to 4, and 3 is the actual standard, and then 0 to 4 is the rubric. So here's a standard for 4th grade reading informational text where technology is embedded. Here's 4th grade writing where technology is embedded. So you can see, again, this is a resource. This was just my best try at pulling out those Common Core state standards with technology and give you something to start with, a 0 to 4 rubric in case this might be useful to you. You are welcome to use this to make a copy. So I would say File, Make a Copy, and then you'll have your own version of this. You are welcome to use this exactly the way it is. You can use one Common Core standard from here and just focus in on one skill that you want students to develop in, or you're welcome to take this as a start and change different pieces so that it matches more what you think aligns with the work that you're doing with students in your classroom. So completely up to you, but I do have here rubrics for kindergarten all the way through high school. And then if we go back into the data collection samples, you'll see examples of how you might set up a Google form so that you can record your data this way. You are completely welcome to just simply use a spreadsheet and record your data in that sense. That's totally fine. But this is another way to do it so that you end up with a form that'll work for you. So here, this looks like it's been changed a little bit. So I'm just going to make a copy so I can show you what it might look like. So again, I'll put this sample in the folder. So you could file, make a copy to make it your own. And basically what we would do here is you might have the grade level, you'd have the student's name, and then I'm going to duplicate this so that we have grade level. This would be useful if you have multiple grades within your class. If you're all first grade, then you don't really need this part, but I would include a space for a student name. And then here we have examples of 2 different Common Core state standards that we're going to collect data on, and then the students can score a 0, a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. So if this were me, I would have my sample rubric, or my rubric. I'd have my rubric printed out. I'd be looking at the student work, assessing them based on the rubric, and then simply entering the information here on how the students did on this assessment. So this is the behind-the-scenes version of the Google form. If you want to go and see the user-friendly version, you would click here, View Live Form. And then this is what it would look like. So again, as you're sitting down to look at student information, you would put the student's name in, possibly their grade level, and then give them a score here and submit it. And then all of this information will go directly to a spreadsheet. It'll filter it all in here. You'll have a timestamp so you can see when the assessment was given and how the student did. And then you can sort later over time, sort by student, and be able to see how students have grown. Again, you can totally just set up a spreadsheet if you'd like to and do it that way, or this is something that you can do to make it a little bit more user-friendly. And then all you need is this link, so you can say this is a bookmark or share it someplace so that you have access to it, and then all you need is this link to enter student information. So then once you have your plan set up for your rubrics and how you're going to collect data, then you will share it with me in a Google Drive folder. So create the folder and name the folder with your first name, last name, laptop or iPad mini grant data collection 2014-2015, and then share the folder with me. And then if you'd like to create a form, you can create your form to match the data collection folder and put that in the folder as well. One thing I would like to go back and share is the data we collect truly is to inform future initiatives, and so we're trying to support the fact that using technology in classrooms in this way, where students have consistent access and much more opportunity to access the devices because it's in their classroom instead of in a computer lab where you have to check out or find space to get there. We're hoping to show that there's a significant impact on the work the students are doing, especially related to Common Core. So we want to show, again, that impact on teaching and learning, but also to look at student growth and see how students change over time when they have access to the technology, and again, to connect this with Common Core and ISTE. So that's the purpose of our data collection. So we'll set up folders to be able to share. You do have a reflection log in your folder. We ask that you just go in and share some of your thoughts on how this whole process goes. It says here to write a plan for when you will reflect, but what we will do is send you an email to remind you, please go to your reflection log and write about how things are going and any frustrations or successes that you've experienced. You can add a reflection if-then statement to your theories of action, completely up to you. So we've gotten to the point where we've thought through our theories of action, thought through the data and how we're going to collect data that helps us look at how technology is impacting the classroom, and that's really the bulk of what we did at the Connected Educator sessions. I'm just taking the time to revisit your plan and zone in on how you're going to carry it out. So one thing I would like to clarify next is this technical side of things. So just to help let you know who to reach out to if you need support. So my position as Coordinator of Instructional Technology sits within Curriculum and Instruction in Teaching and Learning. The texts that we have that come out to school or the help desk is part of Information Services. So Information Services helps with more of the technical issues that you might have with your devices. You can email the help desk, you can fill out a ticket, or you can call 4295. Calling the help desk seems to be the quickest, most efficient way to get support. After that, I would say go ahead and complete an online ticket form so that way you do have record of the ticket number and that you submitted the information. But I do suggest to call if you possibly can, and then if you haven't heard back from an email or a ticket request, just make sure to follow up and check in with them. If you have more of an instructional concern, questions for how to use the technology in instruction and how they might align with the work that you're doing in your classroom, you can contact me, and my information here is my email address as well as my phone number. Next steps. Next steps are to make sure that you do have finalized theories of actions, that your rubrics are finalized. If you can complete a pre-assessment, whether it's October or November, and you might even do an assessment of the student skills without the technology, and what are they able to earn without technology. And then we'll continually reflect on how things go throughout the year. We ask that every quarter or trimester we do an assessment and looking at how kids are doing according to the rubric or whatever other measure you've decided to use. You do have to choose one play date or one tech day to attend. We have another tech day in January and then a play date in February. So you get to pick which one you want to come to. And then please sign up for future Connected Educator sessions, and we'll share information in emails about that. If you could click on this link, it will take you to an exit slip. You can share feedback on how the do-it-yourself version went for you. If you have any other questions, please contact me, Jennifer Vincent, at u46.org. Thank you so much.